as well. I love that song. Thank you so much. One of the most, we had our Badass Women's Conference yesterday, and it was badass. You could ask anybody that was there, and that's why we're so tired this morning, because it was I'm telling you, it was wonderful. But one of the most powerful things that we did was we circled up and we stood up for different things that we had gone through. And it was so, so powerful to see that all that we had been through in our lives, we were not alone. That there were others just like me who felt the pain, who cried real tears, who were authentic in their grief, in their pain, in their heartache. It was a powerful circle of women. And I thank all of you who were there, and all of you who will be there next year. So I was thinking about what happens as you're trying to renew your life, because as we talked about it this morning in our class, we are teleological, and I talk about this all the time. There's something within us that draws forth and wants us to be greater, go to the next level for us, whatever that might be. And there's a calling always forward. That is the law of nature. Plants, animals, or plants, let's start with that. Plants are planted into the ground that they have, whatever they're fertilized with, and they grow based on the ground that they've been planted in, whether it's real rich or dry. For us, the analogy is that our ground that we plant seeds in is our belief, our hearts. And we have to constantly look and see, what does that ground look like? What have we placed in? What seeds have we placed in? What have we placed our seeds into? And if we're not getting what we want, we get an opportunity to resoil by changing our thoughts and our minds. And so it's a powerful thing. And one of the things that occurs and that has you looking again is something happens in your life to kind of wake you up and go, wait a minute, what is this? What's this I believe? One such incident happened for me years ago that led me to divorcing my first husband, the children of my father. So as many of you know, I am a peace officer from Los Angeles. And when I joined that association, that organization, I had to go to the police academy. And so I was away from home. It was in Sacramento, way away from my home. And so you stay there in dorms with the rest of the new people, the rest of the people at the academy. And one of the women that was there, Roberta, her name was Roberta. I was trying to think of what her name was. It was Roberta. She had 3 brothers. All of them were boxers, by the way. So she was a pretty rough customer. She was beautiful, but she was rough. And she was a drunk. Not an alcoholic, because she didn't want to go to meetings. But she was a drunk. And so she had brought up her camper. So in the evenings when we had to study, because you had to study late, there was a lot to do. There was a lot of physical work you had to do, but there was also a lot of education. So friends would gather in her camper in the evening and study. And so one evening I'm bemoaning what's going on with myself and my husband, and how we just constantly seem to have the same fight over and over again. Like, when is that going to be put to rest? And I was complaining about that. But I was also at that point in a fundamental church. So I said, I don't know what to do. God just will be very angry with me if I divorce this man. Now Roberta had already had her fill of drinks, so she was passed out on her bed. She was passed out, I'm not kidding. So the rest of us were discussing this. I said that, God would be so mad at me. And she sat up from her drunken state and she said, well, if God brought you this guy, why are you having such a hard time? And then she passed back out. So that was a turning point for me because it made me think, wait a minute, she is right. If this man was sent to me by God, why are we having such a difficult time? And so I had to rethink, how did this relationship actually happen? To tell you the truth, I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. All my girlfriends loved him. My family loved him. My dad said, what a great guy. And they kept yammering until I kept thinking, well, maybe I'm missing something. And so I started dating him, and he was very charming. He was very charming and fun to be around until he wasn't. So my talk today is about asking a better question. I don't know what happened to the topic. I guess I didn't put the topic on there. That's okay. It's about asking a better question. Because when I woke up to what she just said, it made me start to say, what happened? Why am I in this relationship? And when I got in the relationship, what were the questions I was actually asking? I actually didn't ask. I never actually talked with God about whether this was a good relationship with me. God was telling me, because the fact I didn't like the guy. So that was a big clue right there. I think Spirit was letting me know because my heart wasn't in it. I logically convinced myself to be in it. I didn't ask any questions at all. But what we do, and one of the things that we talk about a lot, is that the unexamined life is not worth living. And this is a quote from Socrates. And what he is sharing is that if you can't ask questions, if you can't bring some logic and sense to your life, you're not living a true life. You're living a life under assumptions and imagination. We have to be able to ask ourselves and God and everyone else questions. And I'll talk a minute about what kind of questions I mean. But we have to be able to do that and examine our lives. As you guys know, Glenn and Pat and I have been friends for many years. And my husband was the minister for the Unity Church in Waco. And I was the music director. And I did some women's studies and some classes. And they came and took over after we left and did some other things. And so I was having this women's group. We're just kind of sitting around, women do, just kind of talking. And one of the ladies said that she had been in a conversation, she'd been out visiting someone, and the woman had disrespected her totally. I said, oh, huh. How did she do that? What did she do? She served me tea in a cup with no saucer. So naturally, my question was, what? What do you mean? How is that disrespecting you? Well, she grew up with a mother who had beautiful china. And that's how she served her guests. And apparently told her that it would be disrespectful to your visitors if you did not serve them with a cup and a saucer. And I said, okay, I understand that. So here's the next question I have for you. How do you know that this woman knows the same thing. That she was raised with cups and saucers. Maybe she was raised with mugs, and she was happy just to have the cup. And she said, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. And so that's all I'm saying. I'm just talking about how we make assumptions. We talked about that with the 4 agreements. There are so many assumptions that go on in our lives. And we have to ask a better question. So a better question is exactly that. How do you know that? How do you know that? She's being rude. How do you know that? That's something your mother said to you about what you do. Is that a universal rude behavior? I think doing this is probably a universal rude behavior. I think we could all agree that would probably be rude. But serving someone, a cup with no sauce, and not so clear, that's it. A better question is not what do I know? A better question is, what do I need to know? What do I need to know in this situation? A better question is, what am I assuming? What do I think they know the same as me? I shared with the group in class, and I don't think they knew this, but I'm very excited because my brother is living here in Fort Worth now. Yeah. He's in a recovery program here in Fort Worth, and he's done it long enough that he's now able to come out and do passes. So he came out last Sunday, and I'll share with you some prosperity that happened with that when we do the income thing during the sharing part. But I told him, I said, okay, so great, let's do something, let's get together, I'll come and pick you up. And he said, great, where do you live? So I shared with him my address here in Fort Worth. And he said, oh, so you live in that hoity-toity place. And I said to the people in the room, I said, is it? Is it? Oh yeah, that address, yes, that's the old hoity-toity area. And I said, oh, well for me, it just was safe. It's inexpensive, it's safe, it's close to here, and it's close to friends. That's the reason why I picked it. But the inference is that I'm too good to live where? In a lesser place? In a place where we live? Huh? Right? So, she's like, oh, what does she mean? Yeah, in a place where black people live. I'm living over here on the white side of town. Why can't I live on the black side of town? Is there such a, you live where you live. The inference is that I'm too good, but that's not what happened. So there was no question being asked, right? They're just assumptions being made. So we get to ask a better question. That is how we have a better life. And the reason for doing that is because we get to change our minds. We renew our lives with the renewal of our minds, right? Changing how we see something, how we view it. If we want something different, we get to do that because we are human beings. We get to think. The power of our minds is incredible. Last week we talked about the whole way that everything matter is waves, meaning infinite possibility. And the moment you decide, the waves collapse into reality. Which means that whatever you decide and think becomes your reality. Infinite possibility until you decide, and then it becomes your reality. The thing is, with renewal, we can have another reality. Because again, infinite possibility is still out there, and we can make another decision and collapse that into a new reality for us. That's the power of our thoughts, our belief, and what we can do as human beings. That's what we get to do. So I was thinking about, this morning I was talking about, what do I think about prosperity? What are my prosperity beliefs? Because in New Thought, we talk about it all the time. We talk a good game. We talk a good game. It's abundance. It's not necessarily about money. It is about joy and relationships and happiness, and it is all about that. Don't get me wrong. It is about all of that. It's about money too. Because money is energy. As a collective, the collective consciousness, for me, let me just go back to personal, I'm sorry. For me, my passion, what drives me, is I am so thrilled that I found you, that I found New Thought, that I want to make sure that anyone else looking for us has a place to come. And that's why it's so important to me that we not only stay here, that we're here, but we thrive here and that we grow. So as a collective, what is our consciousness about growing? We are outgrowing this place. I had to give up the meditation room for the nursery, which is fine. That's no problem, but we don't have a separate room. We are limited to what we can do in this building. So in order for us to grow, we have to think about what's it going to take to move. Now, we don't have to have, a lot of money. It doesn't have to be that. Maybe someone's going to donate a building. Right? I mean, it doesn't matter. But what we are claiming is greatness. What we are claiming is growth. What we are claiming is that we will be here for ourselves and for the next generation of people that are coming. Yes. That is what we're doing. That is what we're doing. And so we have to look and see what's our thinking about prosperity. And if I think about myself, if I see myself holding a handful of money, there's something around my heart that prickles. I have to own that. That is the truth for me. And I need to release that. Right? We're doing that. We're looking and saying, what prickles around your heart when you think about tithing? Is that a bad word? Right? I mean, offering. What's a bad word for you? And we need to think about that as we look to see what we want to do in this place to grow. So we get to renew our thinking, we get to renew our minds, we get to be and claim who we're going to be, how we're going to grow. That's what we get to do. So what I understand, is that I am who I am. And no amount of living in the hoity-toity area, no amount of money, nothing is going to change the fact that I am a loving person, I'm a giving person. I can have $1 million and I'll try to give it all away because I want to help. I want to use my services, my talents, my gifts, my wealth in service to myself and to others. I'm included in that. I get to have a good life too. You get to have a good life as we are serving others and helping them to have a good life as well. That is what we're here to do. Yes. That's what we're here to do. So that's what we're learning. That's what I'm getting. So we have to ask a better question. As we are learning, growing, changing, finding out what's actually within us and what do we believe, we ask a better question. What do I need to know? Should I even be here? Is there a better place? And I know there's not. Believe me, and I know that you did too. Those of you who found your way here, you didn't find your way here the first day you looked. It took some time to find like minds who know who God is for us. Not something out there judging, reprimanding us, making us feel good. That's not the God we know here. We know God is right here. We know God is everyone we look at, everywhere we go. Whether they know it or not, we're looking into the face of God, individualized. We know that. And this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be. So yeah, I'm going to be here now. What do we know And what do we believe? Well, we know that we, exactly what I just said, that we are creating the life we want by simply claiming it. We speak our word. We said, I remember the board meeting, which is the last time, went to the board meeting, and I had said prior to the board meeting, I don't even remember I said it, I said, all right, so we're going to have this youth program, and, we're going to have this whole nursery thing going on. And so we get to the board meeting, and they're like, all right, so you say we're having this youth thing. How's it going to happen? What's happening there? I don't know. I don't know. That's not my job. Our job is to state it. Do you see what we have? Seriously, I talked to guys yesterday, the ladies who came to the Badass Women's Conference, when I stated that I wanted to make my living as a singer when I was in Thailand, and I stated that I wanted to, actually I wasn't even in Thailand at the time, I was in Saigon. I hadn't even heard of the place that I ended up moving to, Phuket. And I just said, I want to make my living as a singer. I don't want to be a hobby. I need to get paid for my talents and my gifts. And so I want to do that. And so when I went there on vacation, it was just told to guys, hey, go there. Go on vacation there. I ended up at the place where I was vacationing was a walking 1 block or 2 blocks from a huge resort. It was called the Indigo Pearl, which ended up being the place that I worked at for the whole 6 years that I was there. But when I walked in and I talked to the F&B, food and beverage manager, they're the ones who book bands. All I had was a flyer that I created on my computer like this. I'm not kidding. That's all I had. And I had a recording. I was trying to remember how I did the recording. The recording was I sat in at a jam session and sang a song and I recorded it. So that's what I had to advertise myself, a flyer and that. And he said, great, you're hired. We have a huge New Year's Eve party and I want you to perform there. I didn't even have a band. I swear, I did not have a band. Because I didn't think he was going to hire me. And I just thought I was going to go and see what the process was like. So that's what we do. I'm telling you that's what we do. So we said we're having a youth program. We have a youth program. How's it going to happen? It's not your business. Let Spirit do it for you. Just claim it your life. Claim your life. That's what we know. That's what we believe. Believe in your greatness. Believe that you are part of something fabulous. You are Spirit incarnate. I know it.